You might ask yourself, why the heck are we, two pesky kids, right, who are just halfway through their education, now standing in front of you and is about to tell you how the world should look like? And well, to be quite honest, I asked myself that exact question about 2 minutes ago when I was standing right there. But anyways, since really neither of us have any proper work experience, right, or any proper degree, we're still in the educational system. And thus, hopefully, we might be able to have a bit of a different insight into how the educational system could and probably should improve. As we now stand in front of yet another new era, technological era, we have to face a lot of difficulties with this new era, right? And all the carefree days of all of your childhoods, and I guess even ours to some extent, are going to be gone because of these difficulties. And because of this, I think we've all been warned about things that we should invest in space exploration, right? So we can leave the planet and colonize the universe, right? Like, you must have heard about that too, right?
Yes, I have heard that maybe we should invest in space exploration. However, maybe our predictions will be false. Maybe we will be staying on this planet. Nobody really knows. We've no idea what society will look like in the future. We don't even know what kind of professions the next generations may pursue. And therefore, I think it's not a question of what society is going to look like in the future. A better question would be, how are we going to prepare the young people of today for the future that is ahead of them? As the world and humanity and civilization has changed endlessly, I feel that somehow our educational systems have remained at somewhat of a standstill, or at least they haven't evolved and adapted at such a fast rate as the rest of the world. Like, if I think about it, my modern classroom today is similar to how it was 100, if not 200 years ago. If I imagine my classroom at my current school, I could think there are only a few differences, like blackboards being exchanged for digital whiteboards, or new literature may have been updated, however it's used in relatively the same way. I mean, students are even still sent to detention for bad behavior. And so I think we can all agree that it's time that education should undergo some kind of revolution to not just update it to how it should be for society today, but for how it should evolve to prepare people for how society will look like in the future. And so how can we really prepare the young people of today for the future that is ahead of them? Well, I think the only thing we can do is to provide them with skills that will benefit them. Skills like flexibility and adaptability, because if we have these skills, we can then take whatever comes, pass with flying colours, or we can put on a brave face and change if necessary. I think we all know that students are going to have varying levels of motivation and cognition, and even varying learning methods, no matter what kind of educational system they've been through previously. And so we're also going to need teachers who are not just going to cram facts and figures into our brains, but teachers who are going to trust us, to believe in ourselves, and help us become more self-confident. Another really important skill I think we need is to be able to find a balance between independence and interdependence. Because we really need to become independent young people, as if we're not independent, if we're still reliant on older generations, we're never going to be able to move on and move forward. However, we need to have this greater awareness of our interdependence, as we know we're all in this together. We wouldn't be able to survive as human beings without the rest of the world, the water, the air, plants and animals. We wouldn't even be able to survive as individual human beings without the rest of society. And so I think we need to have educational systems that are going to help us to build social and cultural interconnections between people all around the globe, communities all around the globe. And I think to have this greater awareness of our interdependence, we need educational systems that are going to help us to stop trying to focus on what we need as individuals, but more as how we can cope and survive as a whole society together. And I think for this to occur, we really need to have a shift in our educational goals. Don't you think, Albin?
Yeah, we really do, yeah. I mean, like, we need to move people away, right, from things like competition towards collaboration and things like that, right? But for example, literacy, it's always been the main focus of the educational system, or a main goal, as Rusa mentioned it. But what does that actually do for you? In a modern society where reading and writing and memorization of facts, it's important, but it's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. I mean, we have computers and machines to do all that for us today. So just imagine what that will look like in 20 or even 50 years from now. I mean, we need to be taught things that a machine or a computer can't do for us, like taking care of the environment, or a deeper understanding of the economy, or social responsibilities, right? Like leadership. For example, take geese, right? They each know when to step up and to step down for the good of the whole. Now, of course, all this might sound a bit idealistic, and it probably is. So the question is, right, when and where does this change in education begin? The thing is, it already has. Because you see, both Rusa and I, we've been part of a concept that we call a farm school. Now, we're not gonna explain the details of it, but rather the general outlines of the program. Now, the point is not to become farmers, as the name kind of may suggest, right? But, but it's more to become decent human beings and becoming better citizens of this, I guess, unknown future, right? So what the educators, or the teachers, as they're more usually called, need to do is to create these living communities of young people like us, of different ages and different abilities, where they can find their place. They need to support personal exploration, right? So students can find all their passions and their strengths and even their weaknesses. They need to present all these opportunities before us, so we can take that we will learn about ourselves and to put it into actual practice. And because we, at this farm, or whatever you want to call it, we live together, and we work together, and we study together. We develop, or the idea is that we develop all the essential skills that we will probably need to survive in this adult and unknown future.
So when should this next step be taken in education to allow young people of today to be more prepared for the future? Well, if you think about it, if it doesn't start now, then the future is going to be here before education has had the time to really improve. And so we know there are many different types of education out there that could all bring improvements to our mainstream systems that we have today. So all we're asking is that you start discussing and contemplating how best to implement these improvements. And it may vary greatly depending on where you are in the world, but all we know for sure is that it's best to start today, because tomorrow never comes. Thank you.